subscribe.
The Angry Ops Guy podcast, featuring Mike and Christina, pushing the ops machine forward no matter the grind. Real talk, real stories, and hard truths from two battle-tested pros.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Angry Ops Guy, where we get angry. And you know what? To be honest, we don't really start recording until 20 minutes after we should. So
Who said I'm angry? I'm not angry. Christ. I'm the most pleasant person in the world. Ask my wife. Well, everybody, hello. It's Mike here, the Angry Ops Guy. You heard Christina, but we got our first guest on the podcast today. So you've heard about her in basically every episode because she is the wizard behind us that actually makes this vomit turn into a masterpiece of a podcast that nobody listens to. So we have Miss Emily on the podcast. Emily, say hello. You're not a background person anymore.
Hi, I'm here.
That's not good enough, Emily. We need be motivated that you're here and that we didn't actually just put this on you.
Oh my God, no, I'm so excited to be here. I love a podcast moment in all of its forms. So I'm very happy to be here.
I like having you here for many reasons. But you listen to all of these things, and I feel like I'm really going to put you on the spot and make you ask us questions. Because I think there are probably a lot of situations where Mike and I get going and we have these stories and we maybe don't finish stories, or we have the intentions to answer some questions or talk about themes, but we get caught up in something else. So as someone our one person who we know has listened to every episode, one person.
And usually twice.
Maybe sometimes 3 times.
By the way, everybody that's listening to this, if you want to pad your digital marketing stats, get your staff to go in and listen to things repeatedly, click on things repeatedly. It's okay. Traffic is traffic. We'll take it. So our success with this podcast, thank you, Emily, for consistently liking posts and constantly listening to the podcast. Well done.
Except when you're showing stats and then the client goes, why are there all of these things from Calgary? Like, that is not our target audience.
You're like, we're doing our job a lot better than we thought we were.
Real hot market here in Calgary for you.
Hot market in Calgary. And there's this one IP address that's being pinged constantly.
Biggest fans.
Okay, I have a question for you related to, I guess, it's not hiring staff, but it's also not hiring staff, not hiring staff, I should say. When you're looking at someone, how do you look at them from the integrator visionary lens, or does that not cross your mind at all?
Oh,
Want me to go first?
Absolutely.
That's honestly, that's a good question. That's way better than anything Christina's ever asked me.
The student becomes the master, and I'm out.
Mike, just be a dick and wonder why you have no friends. To be honest with you, no, because I think the visionary integrator concept, the visionary who is typically the CEO or the owner of the franchise for the most part, that's a unique connection that they have to make with somebody. And you can't figure that out in an interview. And I don't think, Christina, maybe just jump in here because this is a conversation more than one-on-one. I don't think you can sit there and say, I'm going to go hire my integrator. And you have to figure out who that integrator is. And that takes time, team dynamic and so forth to kind of identify that person. So, when we hire, and we said this on another episode briefly, I don't remember which one was, definitely looking for attitude first. You definitely want a strong element of skills, but skills can be taught, skills can be mentored, skills can be bought in the sense of e-learning and whatnot, but attitude can't. So the biggest identifier when you're hiring is, like I think Christina said much better than I did, culture fit, core value fit. And then, is that person got a great attitude? Are they committed? Are they excited? Are they energized? Those are the things you're looking for in those kind of initials. And then you're trying to figure a way of, do we get enough of the skill side proportionate to what they want, proportionate to what we need? And then, I would say, depending on your team dynamic, and if you don't have an integrator, I would say put your lens on as the visionary and say, in the next year, if this person is in operations, could they be your integrator and allow you to scale? And, typically that integrator is that project manager role, the production fulfillment person, because go back to Brad. Christina's Brad from the past. That's that main person. That's the cog that moves the fulfillment out. So, and that's why Christina at that time was evaluating, is Brad wired and capable and wants to be that true integrator? And again, Brad chose a different direction. I'm not picking on Brad, but just that's where Christina was. And hence where I came in to try to give some insights was exactly that. She had the feeling that he had the potential, but she didn't hire Brad at the beginning to, I believe, to say, like, this is my integrator. That took time to kind of get a trust that, is that the next step? So that's the way I look at it. But that integrator role, in conclusion from my side, that's the key role. You don't have an integrator, then vision is vision. It's scribble notes on a napkin. The integrator's got to be the person that can push that pedal and see farther than just the vision to take it into reality.
I understood your question differently.
Oh, Christ. This is when Emily comes in and says, Mike, thank you for that 4 minutes. But I didn't ask that. And that's not where I was coming from.
No, because I'm gonna continue with what Mike said, but also answer because I could have totally misread the situation too. Okay, hiring an integrator, I don't think is possible. I think similar to what Mike just said, it happens. And I will share a story actually about last night. You guys were making fun of me because Peter and I went on a date, but it is also where we have our best business owner meetings, because after a few cocktails, we don't want to murder each other in a business owner conversation. We're just we're feeling good because it's hard. It is hard. A visionary and an integrator have very different lines of sight in the business, but also a very different way of thinking about the business. And then you layer that with business owners together is a whole thing. But what was interesting is in this conversation, we were talking about, so obviously Karen's on maternity leave and thinking about what the role looks like when she comes back and what are the things I'm going to delegate. And and we were just having these reflections about the entire team and going, okay, there are some clear, there are clearly people gravitating, and Emily, I mean, you are one of these, right? You're gravitating towards different things, and we're pulling people into different conversations. And you even look at someone like Jay on our team, who all of a sudden has emerged as this mastermind media pitcher, right? And it was who knew? That's not what I initially hired him for. I was having conversations about cultural fit and that piece. And I think that, again, what I wish, and I don't know, maybe I'll completely change the standard operating procedure on hiring, but I wish we could just go you need another person. There is a need for a person, and you just pull them in and you figure out where they fit, which, I mean, doesn't work on paper, but there is this kind of notion of I look at the CIPR team now and I feel there are some overlapping skill sets. There are some skill sets we haven't even tapped into yet. I feel there's people gravitating towards new things or different things. And it's we're all standing up on the bus and we're kind of moving into different seats, but it's okay. And I almost wish that there was more flexibility in the hiring process to be able to think about things like that. And I think what we've done well at CIPR is, I would say, the last few hires, I'm going to call out Juan probably specifically. I reached out to him on a completely different job opportunity and then had a conversation with him and was oh my God, you are exactly what Peter and Kenny need. You are the fit here. Anyways, so that's my other, what I heard and where my brain went is, do I think as an like what hat do I wear when I'm hiring? Do I like wear an integrator hat? Do I wear a business owner hat? Do I wear like you're going to report to me hat? And actually, I think I need to wear the integrator hat more. I think I wear the business owner hat a lot in interviewing new staff, because the business owner is about bottom line, is about cultural fit, probably is about how does this feel. The manager, like you're going to report to me hat, is like, can we get along? But I also think like in reflection of, I don't know, let's say the last half dozen hires, I think it is really easy to bullshit in an interview when you're talking to someone wearing the like you're going to report to me hat. Like I think that there have been a few people that have not worked out on the team because they told me what they think I wanted to hear as someone who is going to report to me. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I put myself out there. My personality is pretty transparent. I'm pretty blunt. I'm pretty whatever. So like it doesn't take long for someone to know what they need to feed me for me to get excited. However, I do think if I wore my integrator hat in those calls before those other two hats, I don't know, maybe she would be the voice of reason in some of these situations, because an integrator, you're fundamentally looking at it from a different lens. And I think like, I'm like so long-winded on this answer, my apologies. But like, I do think that the integrator lens is so powerful. And it's actually been something like lately I have been reflecting on quite a bit, because I finally have the mental capacity to reflect on it. And it's like allowing me to go, oh, like I need to pull Emily into this conversation about a digital PR add-on, because she knows SEO and she speaks the same language as these people. Whereas like Christina with a different hat on doesn't see that. She sees Emily working over here or whatever, but the integrator looks at it with the lens of who fits where. And I feel like as we prepare, I always feel like, I don't know, this is like such a weird comparison. It's like Karen returning from maternity leave. I feel like we have all put on this, like, it's like Jesus coming back. And I think as I think about her coming back, I want to be really prepared as the best integrator I can be. And so like, even on my way home from the gym today, I was thinking about individuals on the team going, oh my God, like maybe this is how they integrate better with everyone else. And this is how this works. And the integrator lens, I think, is very powerful, but if you are too busy and too overwhelmed and too overrun, it's hard to look through that lens, because if everything is on fire, there's no integration. It's just like fucking chaos. Anyways, that's my long-winded answer.
Question, Em?
It did, yeah. Well done, you guys. I always like your wisdom. I wouldn't listen to the podcast twice if I didn't. I think you touched on an important point there, Christina, in terms of it's funny. There's the saying that no one is ever too busy, but that I think is an exception for probably business owners, and moms actually is the exception. So shout out to Two Babies in a Business. Go listen to that podcast. I'll just put that subtle plug in there.
Love you.
Always selling. But I think that's an important distinction, right? Like, here's what I'll say as an employee: your boss is busy. Okay. They are too busy. So one, don't ask too many questions. And two, I think you're making a great point in terms of like, you need to set aside space for yourself. Even I am not the boss, but when I don't have time to think critically about some of the work that I'm doing, like, it's just, things get left behind in the wash. So I think there's probably a discussion for capacity there. How do you manage your capacity, guys? How do you balance? Christina's like, I don't know. How do you juggle, Christina, for you being the business owner, Mike being the operations guy, versus, and hopefully you're not in the weeds too much on this, but doing some of those like day-to-day client work, things like that. What does that look like for you? And just any hot tips on capacity?
Go ahead, Mike. Hot tips.
Christina's like,
Hot tips, fresh from Mike's oven.
I'm just sitting here just watching you two go back and forth because I love how Emily's like, he's like, oh, tomorrow's payday. Christina, great point out of your waffle there, and I'm like Mike, thanks for your input.
Thanks, Mike. Gold stars, buddy.
Capacity is an interesting thing because it's so important to be able to assess the capacity of your team and your individuals or department heads or whatever, because that's the common gripe of any employee, is feeling the pressure of being at bandwidth or capacity. And as an ops leader or an integrator and whatever, you got to have data and you got to have ways to assess that. And so you can look at it constructively, because every employee, including myself, because I am still an employee, if you will, you're going to have that moment where you're up to here. And what I'm doing for people on the radio or the audio is, feel like you're up to here, and you're dying and drowning. But
under his chin, he's putting his hand under his chin.
Yeah, I don't know
folks.
what I'm talking. I'm on cold meds, whatever. I don't think capacity. Look, I think it's more important as an ops leader that you establish capacity for your team members versus capacity for yourself, and that's going to be an interesting conversation or an argument. But an ops leader, an ops manager, whatever, you're going to be under a pile all the time. Like, the reality is, everybody can say, well, I'm going to get myself out of the business to work on the business. If you're in an integration role, which an ops leader is, you are always got your hands dirty no matter what. Emily needs this today. Karen needs that. Lenny needs this. Stuart needs that. So you are you're not the most intermediate skill set, but you're the most intermediate body that people look up to for that support, whether it's problem solving, whether it's I need to vent because I'm furious because I can't get this to work or whatever. So I don't think your capacity is necessarily controllable. And that's why ops leaders are so burned out all the time, because you do just have 25 things at a time coming at you. And that's the reality of small business. And I've used that as a joke so much in this podcast of like burning alive and stuff, because I'm the dramatic, like, let's make it morbid and whatever else. But the truth of it is, every day is chaos, just because small business is chaos, because you're not sitting there with just your 3 things to do and then you go home. You walk in with a purpose in the morning saying, Emily needs me at 9:30, and then Christina needs me at 10:30, and then I got the whole day to work. And you get on in your email at 9:01 and the whole day goes upside down. And then again, it's 7:30 p.m. and you're like, what the hell happened? So your capacity doesn't really matter. You just got to find a way to work at a volume and a level that is larger and more efficient than others. But what I'll close with is, I feel very strong about this, but you must understand capacity and bandwidth for your team members, because they're going to constantly bring this up. And you have to be able to debunk it, understand it, accept it, or be able to go to your ownership if you're not like a Christina that does both sides of that. And you got to be able to say, like, I can prove to you, Peter J., that so-and-so and so-and-so is up to here. And here's the proof in data, whether that's full-time employee value, whether that is looking at time tracking, whether that's tying back to billable time, whether it's tying back to how many clients, however mathematical you do it in your agency to figure out what somebody's full capacity is. You need to have that ironed out in a formula, because when that problem comes, you can't sit there and go like, no, you're not at capacity. And they say yes, because now it's he says and she says. But if you have a system in place, you can navigate that conversation correctly. And I just think it's more important to understand and protect capacity for your team members versus the ops leader that is paid proportionately the largest, because you have the most stress and the most accountability, and that's what you signed up for. And so that's my 2 cents. Now Christina's going to be like, well, that's not what the question was, Mike, but now here's my 2 cents.
I like Hawaiian.
And then Emily's going to be like, great topic, Christina. You're just amazing.
Hawaiian pizza. No,
Hawaiian pizza? What?
Being an ass. Like, the question was totally different. A few things here that I will say. I will say, like, to me, one of our, like, I don't remember what this is in our VTO. It's like the non-negotiable or the something is no surprises. I don't want to be surprised ever. in my personal or my professional life. Don't surprise me, because then I can't have your back. And so, like, to your conversation, or to your answer, Mike, it's like, you need the transparency, you need the tools, you need the open conversations, you need those things. For me, it's like, yeah, I really value a team member being solution oriented. And so you don't need to come to me with every problem, because I hire smart people and I believe in them and I trust them. And so they're going to solve problems. But I am very firm on, if you are spinning your wheels on something, stop, come to me, ask me a question. Because the worst thing about capacity is, wow, you've been spinning your wheels on some bullshit that you could have asked me, and 15 minutes later it could have been solved. So I do have one story about this. A previous employee, and absolutely lovely person, and produced good stuff. But I would look at her timesheet over and over again, and it's like 50 hours a week, 55, and I'm like, you have a capacity problem. Like, what are you spending so much time on? Like, there is no way that the role should be taking you this long. And dove into it a bit further, and we had given her some responsibilities on the project management side, because there was just this, okay, I think you're ready for it, and here's the next step, and here's the next adventure for you. And she wasn't ready. And instead of coming to me, or coming to, I feel like Karen and Brad were around at the time, instead of coming to a colleague that was more senior to ask for help, she set herself off on an island. And now this, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it a promotion or like added responsibility, was now this giant headache. And like, oh my God, I thought I wanted this, but this is a nightmare. And like, this is how I move up in this company. This is crazy. And one, that was not the case. It wasn't a make or break situation. But two, it's like she had gotten in there from a project management perspective and confused things so much, even just from a simple, delegation wasn't a strong suit. Tasking things out wasn't a strong suit. She didn't understand the mechanics. And as soon as I was able to start digging in and going, okay, this is what you're not understanding. You don't understand the whole process. You're only looking at it from a cog in the wheel, and now you've overcomplicated it. And so, I mean, she went and found a new job because she was in this nightmare situation.
Bye.
She
See ya.
she didn't ask for help, right? Like, so I do want to debunk that. I think you should come for help. Now, what I will say, absolutely, your leader is busy, whether the leader is the integrator or a director or whatever. My biggest thing that I learned when I was in corporate was, your boss is going to ask you for a million different things, and like, sometimes they'll remember, but most of the time they won't. And so like, the email or the follow-up is, you asked me for this as a result of this. Here's the thing. Here's what I think I should do next. That, to me, when I get emails like that, like, oh my God, like right? Like, it's like, oh yeah, I asked you to go pick daisies. Why did I do that again? Oh yeah, because we didn't like roses anymore. Oh, you went and you like fulfilled this, and this. Amazing. You're going to now do this next. Perfect. And then that's like easy for me. Great. I have confidence in what you're doing. You're doing your job, and peace out. Keep doing what you're doing. Check in with me next. I think that even when it comes to client communications, I feel like I try to drill this in to the team, and Emily, you can say I don't. That'll be fine. But like,
Christina, just great response. Just, you're hitting all the key points here. Just keep going.
But when you're interfacing with a CEO of a client, follow the same formula. Like, I think a lot of the time with our clients, we're interacting with the marketing manager or the whatever, or the middle whatever. But as soon as that CEO is a part of the conversation, I was just writing to one of our clients today. The CEO's in there. She liked what we were doing on a LinkedIn perspective. She wants it on her LinkedIn, but this was months ago. So it's like hey, remember when you said this? We've done this. Your next step is this. Not, Harry Fairy or here's the thing. I mean, that is what I think drives me crazy as an integrator is here's that thing. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck this thing is. What is this thing? Why did I want this thing? Like poor Mike on our team. I do that to him constantly. He'll like send me a link. He's like, here's that like list you asked for. And I'm like, why did I ask for this list? And he's like, I don't, let me look back and see. Anyways, long-winded again. But like, to me, bug me thoughtfully. Or bug me if you're spiraling. Don't spiral and be smart.
And Emily, to one point that Christina made there, which is interesting, is she made the point where she said like, "Oh, I've already thought of this and I've done that for you, and this and that," and talking about the employee to Christina, for example. That right there, ironically, is when Christina or I start to the light bulb goes on, saying, that team member could be an integrator, because the first step of assessing an integrator is not that they can integrate. It's the proactivity to understand that there's always something to do and they're taking the initiative to do it.
Right.
So that's a very interesting how the two questions that I answered incorrectly on both of them, because obviously I don't understand context today based on Mrs. Pilarski's response, because I don't even know what the hell I said there. Like, I thought capacity meant like, how do you control and assess capacity? And Christina's like, well, it's my capacity. I'm like, maybe I should understand the question better.
I think you're just good. I don't want the same answer from both of you. That would make
no, it's not the same answer. It's I want to make sure I give you something viable here versus like, Mike, you've missed the boat twice here.
Whoa, you're
but
good.
Christina's answer is bang on. Is it's like you're looking for those things because the top of the totem pole, which again, ops leadership, or you take it a step further, a CEO who is traditionally a visionary, whatever, they're going to throw a million things at their best lieutenants. And again, they are going to forget a good percentage of them. And it happens a lot. And it's not meant to be funny. It's just, you got ideas, you got to fix things, you got to do things, you got to put up, but like a lot of it's scatterbrain. So, you want with your team members to bring the game to you because you don't have the capacity to do it all yourself. And the worst thing for an ops leader or an integrator is feeling, well, everything's on my lap and I'm the only one that can do it. That is absolutely the wrong mentality. And that's coming from the guy that lived that mentality for way, way too long. When my Peter's like, Mike, you have to delegate. You have to trust people. You have to get the team working in tandem with you because you can't do everything. And there is going to be a podcast we do here where we're going to talk about my burnout and then try to help people assess how not to do it. So, capacity is a real problem in small business, but you have to disperse the responsibilities, and you also have to maybe I'll close with saying assess what your capacity is and understand where your limit is, whether you're in ops leadership or you're just a good tactical person on the ops team, because that's where the drowning feeling comes very quickly for people of just, I can't keep up. And then like Christina says, now we have to assess, why can't you keep up? And a lot of the time it is more inefficiencies than it is scale of the company's growing too fast for the amount of team members you have.
I think the other thing that I'll add to that, and when we talk about incentive stuff and moving staff forward, I think for me, there's this like, with great power comes great responsibility. But like to move up in an organization, and like up is relative in a small, it is to take on more responsibility.
Yes.
And I think in a smaller business, for the integrator, that is a scary thing, because now you are letting someone else take charge of something, right? You have to let your fingers off, and that trust is a slow build. And so to me, there is always this, and I mean, Emily, this is why it's, there is a quarterly, we're going to add this responsibility this quarter. Did you handle it or did you not? And if you didn't handle it, it's not, oh my God, you're terrible. It's maybe we're not there yet. Or, okay, maybe we need to take a step back and figure it out. Or, oh, maybe you didn't have the capacity you thought you had. And we need to figure that out and make space or room. Or maybe there's things so to me, there's this like incremental adding of responsibility to someone. And I think there's individuals who will take that on themselves. And then there are individuals that you may have to thrust it upon. And both can succeed and both can fail. I mean, it is my story in corporate Calgary. Like, I was hired to do one thing, the Canadian natural gas social media. And I sat there and I went, well, I got more capacity. Like, this is not rocket science over here. So I then looked around and said, oh, like, this is an interesting thing that's kind of sitting and no one's paying attention to. Like, hey, Trav, who was my boss, like, what do you, like, can I touch this over here? Like, is this okay? Oh yeah, no one, okay, great. And I take that on, and okay, I was still getting this job done and this one. And then when it came time, when my leader left, I had already carved out a nice little chunk for myself, by myself, with my leader's permission, that it was like a no-brainer. Oh yeah, okay, Christina, you're just going to step into this and you'll be okay and we'll figure it out. So I think there is this, like, you know, incrementally adding responsibility is adding to workload. Like, I think a lot of people go like, ooh, manager, you manage people? Ooh, manager, that's so, it's like managing people is the biggest time suck of someone's life and career ever.
Amen, sister. Preach it, preacher.
So, like, you know, I think there are all these like really like sexy things people think are like, oh, it's so great. And it's like, okay, like, you need to be at a certain point in your own bandwidth to now be able to handle the I don't want to say drama because that sounds very rude, but like the work drama of other people, because you're not only managing your own fire, but you're now managing multiple people's fire. And there are some people where it's like, I don't wish that upon them because they're great at what they do. And it's like, stay focused on what you do and do that so good. And don't worry about Bobby, who has 6 houseplants reporting to him. I don't know.
Yeah, get out of here, Bobby.
Bobby. Not Bobby.
He wants no goddamn Bobby here.
Don't hire a Bobby.
Yeah, that's the takeaway of today's podcast. If somebody puts in an application, their first name is Bobby, throw it in the trash bin. So
Sorry.
Bobby's no bueno in digital marketing.
No bueno, Bobby.
No bueno.
I feel like I've got one more question for you because we should probably wrap up soon.
You came to this podcast with 3 questions?
You came to this podcast to just run your mouth on every single answer?
Woo! Whoa! And
Fire.
Mike, the ops guy, is going to leave the podcast. This is now the Emily and Christina podcast. Holy fuck.
Sorry.
All right, Em. Well played, lady. What would you like to say?
Have I lost my train of thought? No. So I think to Christina's latest answer, Mike, you actually said something earlier that I think relates, which leads to my next
said
question.
something earlier.
I said something important?
You did. And it was around capacity. And basically, I can't remember the exact words you said because it was actually quite a spiffy thing. You probably saw my face light up when you said it. But it was kind of boss because you were like, around capacity as like the integrator, the ops guy, you just have to do it. Like you have to do it because it's in your job description, which I think makes sense. And it lends itself well to kind of what Christina's saying here in terms of that growth. Like, if you want to move up, you got to do it. Like, whatever the new responsibility is, that's the thing that you have to do, and you're not going to make it to that next level if you don't, like Christina said.
Well, in fairness, Em, on that though, you're right, but that's also a portion of the person's personality and their work drive, right? When I say you got to do it, some people respectfully will argue saying like, no, you don't got to just do it. I do what's proportionate to what I'm paid and whatever else. I'm wired differently. I am. And
this is what I was going to ask. This like lends itself very well to my question. So
go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I love this because I feel like we're bouncing off each other. My next question was going to be, because I think title change is a big thing, especially for my generation. We're like, oh, I've worked here for 5 minutes. I'm a manager now. And the boss is like, what are you on about? Absolutely not. So my question is, what do you think of this? Because I think there is a sort of, at least from kind of what I can see in the workforce right now, what do you think of this sort of, okay, we're going to move you up and call you a manager because it's your time, but not really give you anyone to manage, or maybe there's some new responsibilities, but there's not like, to that piece, Christina, there's not really anybody else to manage. There's nobody else on the team. You're not managing anyone. You're not really managing, I don't want to say anything because that seems weird, but like there's no sort of, you're not the manager of SEO, for example, just to kind of put it into terms here, versus actually giving people, new responsibilities, people to manage. Is there still merit to that sort of other side of things in terms of moving someone up despite not having anyone or anything to manage to further their career? Is there a time and place for that? What's your perspective?
I did that once.
How did it go?
Very bad.
Okay.
And her name's Emily Lundy, and we haven't been able to get rid of her out of CIPR yet.
Sorry, what did you say, Mike?
No, I did it, and it creates a culture of like not goodness, right? Like everyone's looking around going, well, what the fuck does that person manage? And it was time, like, to your point, it was time that they get a new title, and that was important to them. And for me, it was like, I don't care if that's what you want to be called. You're doing the same job. And there was no financial component attached to it. They wanted a title, and that made them happy. And I said, all right, whatever you want. I think also with that, there becomes, if you are giving the title, and again, it's all personality based, but there is, I have another example of this where the individual had that title and all of a sudden felt that there were tasks that were on their plate that were probably needing to not be on their plate anymore. And it's like, well, sorry, look around. Do you see anyone to take that on? No, that is you, my friend. You must take it. So I don't like it. There is it's actually called the Peter principle. So like the Peter principle is you are given promotion and given raises or whatever, and you end up in a place where you actually have like no idea what you're doing because it's just like a seniority or a whatever. And so like these are these like useless bosses that like actually have no idea. And anyways, look it up. It's called the Peter principle. I bother my Peter about it all the time, but it's like you're senior enough in an organization and charismatic enough or not, or just been around and you're loyal and a good worker bee. And it creates, to me, the like wrong titles to the wrong person. My lesson there has been it creates a toxic work environment, mostly for everyone else. Like the first example I had, like she was stoked on it. She was happy, but like behind the scenes, I was dealing with a whole angry mob of people. And I actually, at that point, this is like many years ago in the business, I ended up changing everyone's title at that point because it just became this big thing. And so that's when CIPR got directors because there were clear people that should be it. Like, anyways, it became a shit show. I don't know. Mike?
No, I'm aligned with you in similar ways. I don't necessarily have a story, but a lot of what you say I resonate with. And I think, to Emily's point, title is important to people, certain people, or generational, doesn't matter. Yeah. But as an ops leader or an agency owner, I think you do have to be careful with how you throw titles out, because titles aren't like pieces of candy. If you have a title that has the word manager in it, and let's take it back to what Christina said about the internal staff grumbling or causing like a mutiny, if you will, because they're frustrated. It's like, somebody went from technician or, ops person to manager. And then, so there's perception. Then there's the assumption that they're getting a bigger wage. Like Christina said in this example, they didn't. It was more title than anything. Number 3, you got the title of manager, director, account manager, whatever else. There's an expectation in that, even in perception of your team members. Oh, you got a manager title, you better manage. And then it's like, well, no, we just give everybody manager titles to make them happy. It's like, so you got to be very careful with that, because you're going to have, again, the people element, the area you can't control, because everybody's got feelings. Everybody thinks they're worth something. Everybody thinks that they're entitled to this and that. It's like, you're right. It's like, if you want to grow to a manager, a director, a VP of ops or whatever, then Christina said it earlier. It's like, you've got to strive to be better, and you got to push that needle and take on more and prove to your CEO or your CEO that you can do that to justify that title, which comes with it. Because if you're just going to have a title to have a title, Emily, right? It's like internal and external frustration, because also that title's on every email that goes out, everything that person does. So, John Smith is CIPR's new manager of X. And then that person starts emailing and saying, oh, hi, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, manager. And then the person's just doing tactical back and forth 101. Well, I'm talking to him. So again, you got to be very careful with that, to align with also the kind of, I call it the tier system. That's very corporate. But like in small business, the ceiling is not infinite. Like a project manager only has a certain ceiling until, like you guys said, there's a next jump that's proportionate, both in wage and accountability. But are you ready and capable of taking that? Because, a small business doing, let's just say, on an average of $1 million of gross revenue, small agency digital marketing, you can't have 5 team members making 6 figures.
No.
You can't.
Yeah.
So you have to balance what you need with what expectations are. And then you have to make sure and find that 1 or 2 people that, again, really gets it. And like going back to that number 1 or number 2 question, do they get it? Are they able to bring the game to Christina or Mike and say, I've got this, I got that, I figured this out already, I saw you were behind on that and whatever. And then that's when things align. But don't be too quick to just throw titles out there just to make somebody happy, because it can really blow up a team culture or a team dynamic, which is not what you would think would be the problem, right? You think the problem would be expectation, wage, reality, and ego, but it's actually, you're harming your small team, because people are sitting there chewing on their lip going like, oh, so-and-so's a manager now. And that happens a lot.
That's a whole other conversation.
It's a whole other conversation.
Your brains on, because I'm so curious about just like the dynamics and what you've seen in terms of promotion. Because I mean, as a little guy, I know how that kind of feels, not here in this organization, but like, anticipation, that sort of thing. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
I want to say one thing on that, Emily, is just, and this is the angry ops guy in me, but I don't care. If you want a promotion, I'm not saying raise, I'm not saying bonus. You want a promotion. The word promotion, whether you understand it or not, I'm going to tell you what it is. Promotion means you're being promoted because you are doing more than what your set responsibilities are, and you deserve that promotion to go to the next level. And with that next level means more accountability, more stress, more responsibility, and to justify the wage and the title and what Christina or Mike or Peter J or Peter P need. So promotion is should be understood as, you have really strived to be an ass kicker this year. The last 3 years, you can prove it, and you can talk back and forth and agree on those things. Because if you can't, then again, promotions don't just grow on trees. When again, there's only a hierarchy, so much to do between size, promotions, and wages proportionate to the size and revenue of the agency.
Yeah. No.
Sorry if you didn't want to hear that, but I told you.
No,
what I'll say,
yes, I'm taking notes.
Don't, please. I don't have much important to say at all.
When I started CIPR, it took me 3 years to call myself the CEO.
Really?
Because there is a tremendous weight and responsibility that comes with that title. So, I was a consultant.
Sorry, Christina, I want to ask you right away, why were you not comfortable to put that title on yourself, irrelevant if it's your business? Well, what was it, an insecurity that you didn't have the skill set, or you would not be looked at in the right way? But like, what was it for you that just said like, I'm going to let this kind of percolate until I'm ready to say, yep?
I think so. I think it was absolutely imposter syndrome. I think it absolutely was, there was probably a bit in me when I first started thinking, I'm not going to do this forever. I'm going to go find another job. There was a bit of, I've been doing this for a long time now, like, young 20-something-year-old Christina, and you walk in and go, I'm a CEO. Like, that didn't feel right? Like, to me, I still very much felt like a kid, even though I knew what I was bringing to the table. And it took a friend who we had toyed with giving like a percentage of the business. So he was coming in to see if he wanted to partner with us, and he was doing some sales. And his feedback when he came back after he was testing the water, he's like, these people want to talk to the CEO. And, like, Christina, you're the CEO. And I was like, oh, I guess so. But it took me a lot to settle into that. And I think once I did, there was this whole responsibility of, okay, we're a company now. And that title brought a tremendous amount of responsibility. I probably had it before too, but all of a sudden it was like, I got to know my numbers. I got to figure out capacity. Probably it was a very similar time when I started to bring in tools like Harvest to track time, or, right, like, there all of a sudden became this accountability of like, oh, I am a CEO. Oh, I am running a business. Oh, this
I
is
think that's so
real.
important what you said there, though. I just want to reflect on that for a moment for you. I like what you said is like, it goes back to Emily's title question is, if titles are thrown around too loosely, especially major ones, whether you want to call it C-class titles, VP titles, whatever, what's the perception of your clients? What and I mean this the right way. Somebody has a VP title, a COO title, and they're 25 years old, and they're brought in saying, "Hi, I'm the CEO of the agency," for example. It doesn't matter how good they are. How does that look to the client that's spending $50,000 with CIPR, WSI Command? And that's not a shade on the employee. It's the reality of business owners looking at titles and wanting the best person possible in front of them. And so it's perception. And you've got to be, and I think that's what you're saying here, Christina. And maybe again, sorry if I'm wrong, but it's like, you're right. It's like you didn't feel, you call it imposter syndrome, that you were ready to put that title out there and what comes with it. But you're right. It's like, if you're going to have that type of title, you better know the skill set that comes along with that to basically run the agency. Otherwise, you're failing your customers, you're failing your team, and you're failing yourself.
Totally. Just
because you said, let's slap a cute title on and make myself look great. But again, what baggage comes with that is the weight of the world of the accountability of the live or die of the agency. And that's, I want to say something. My Peter has always said, just in totality, he goes, my biggest pressure and risk is making sure I take care of you guys. Making sure there's always payroll ready, making sure you're never going to miss a payment, making sure that I don't have to tell you we have to chop 3 people because of X and Y. So he takes the weight of the world knowing that all of his team members, their livelihood is dictated by the health and success of his agency. And he takes that personally to make sure that the 7 or 8 people that are on his team can feed their families. That's weight. And Christina, you know that better than anybody. That's you. But that's the weight you carry, is your own success, but making sure you don't, demoralize an Emily, a Karen, or whatever by bad decisions or bad business that could impact lives. Because ultimately, your staff is, I'm sorry to say this, it sounds so stereotypical, but your staff is your family. You spend more time with your staff than your own family. And that's why it hurts also as an ops leader when people leave, people are disgruntled, or again, you don't take care of your people, which we said actually earlier in the blooper reel.
Well, and what I'll say to that, I'll say 2 things. One, when December cash flow is in the shitter because people are on holidays and your invoices aren't being paid and all your team needs to be paid, guess who isn't being paid that month? Right? Like, it's like those are the realities. And I think that is the shittiest part about being the quote unquote boss or business owner, or because, like, who's the first person you're going to shit all over when you're feeling a way about a job or something? It's the boss. Yeah. And it's like, in no way, shape, or form do I want anyone's sympathy? Because I brought this on myself. I decided to run a business and I knew what I was, maybe I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but once I made myself a CEO, I knew what I was getting myself into. But those are the pieces, and exactly like your Peter, like those are like the sacrifice you have to make for your family, your work
That's
family
the word.
is huge. What
Yeah.
I will say though is that because of that, there is tremendous job security in working in a small business. If you
Yes.
are, and I don't want to say like if you're a star or not a star, but like if you are loyal and you're getting the job done and you're a great cultural fit and you've been around and you're helping out and the thing, it's like, yes, the raise, the promotion, the whatever isn't this constant year over year as you'd get if you were in a corporate job. But once it can be provided, it is provided. And that person, the boss is going to not pay themselves in December so that you can have Christmas with your family. Whereas like you work in big corporate X, well, I guess the whole marketing team is getting laid off this Christmas because cash flow sucked. And right, like there is this, and not to slight anyone and not to go, I'm so great or not, because like that is not what it's about. But it's like, I think Peter J would say the same thing. He will lay down on his sword for his team. He will sacrifice what he needs to for his team so that they're happy, that they're there, that they're feeling okay with the job. Peter and I had this conversation actually last night too over drinks, and it's like we are always trying to find creative ways to show our team that we care. And sometimes it is words of affirmation because that is all we can afford. And sometimes it is a gift card because that is what credit card points can get us. And it is off the books and you're not paying taxes on it and we're not paying taxes on it, and now you get to go for dinner for whatever. Or it's working in other ways to kind of solidify that. And I think as an agency owner, you end up having to be really, when you find good folks, you will do anything to keep them, and you will be as creative as hell to allow them what they need to and to stay. And what I'll say is where I try to work things in is like, okay, well, like I can't bump your salary 10 grand because like we're not there, but like how about an extra 2 weeks of vacation? Or like how about an extra $1,000 on your benefits? Or like there are creative ways to make sure you're building loyalty into a team that doesn't affect the bottom line. And hey, works for some, doesn't work for others. I've had situations where it's like, I can't afford this bottom line right now that you're asking me for. How about another week vacation? I did it. Brad is an example here. We were going through an incentive track with him. He got to the end of a quarter, did great, met his goals, but the business didn't meet its goals. And I said, look, you've got two options here. I can't meet your goal. You can wait and we can have that conversation. Or like, hey, I can give you an extra 5 days vacation. Like, what do you think? And again, it works for some people and doesn't work for others. And I think that's the choice you make when you enter a small business or you enter an agency.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the mic drop right there, lady. Well said on all fronts. And that's the importance of good leadership. And, good leadership tries the best they possibly can within their means to take care of their team, because without the team, there is no agency. And without the agency, the owner or leader does not be able to make an income. So, punchline, take care of your team and get creative on how you take care of them within the means without being cash poor. So if you don't mind, ladies, because I know we have to wrap up here, we got our time. So a couple shout outs and a couple of quick things, and let's get out of here. So for number one, even though this will drop a little bit later than the news, big shout out to our mutual friend, Eric Cook out of Michigan. Eric Cook is on absolute fire right now. He just got recognized for the IFA 2024 Franchisee of the Year, on top of being the Agency of the Year for WSI, which he got to celebrate with his wife, Alicia, and his team last year in September. So, Eric, we love you, man. I'm going to shout you out until you tell me to cease and resist, but you are on fire, and ride the lightning, man, because it just goes to show you that when you hard work pays off. So well done, my friend, and we love you for it. On another note, on a different note, everybody knows that I love to poke fun at one of my best friends, Jack Porter Smith, and every facet possible because that's who I am. But a lot of people know because Jack is so open that Jack's battling a lot of health issues. And I'm not going to go into any details. It's not my business. I know a lot. But he's obviously been through some tough times recently and is on the mend after a very serious surgery that hopefully will improve his quality of life, hence why he had to step away from Utopiad. So just a shout out to Jackie boy. I know you're one of our first subscribers. I know you listen to us religiously and basically say to me, keep it coming. So know you're recovering right now, and we'll get you some more podcasts, but we're thinking about you, buddy. And we wish you nothing but the best of a speedy recovery once this drops and you can hear it. Okay. So we love you. You're still fat, and I'll see you soon. On that note, everybody, we got to get out of here. So thanks for being with us today. And Emily, thank you so much for just dropping. By the way, everybody, we literally told Emily like 3 seconds before we started that she's going to be part of this. So the fact that she actually banged out 4 questions and absolutely tore a strip into me when I said something I shouldn't have tells you everything you need to know. So Emily, please come back. We love you. Thank you for being here.
I love you guys. Thanks for having me on.
And Christina, I love you too. But did we solve anything today?
Absolutely not.
Awesome. Talk to you next week.
Good luck, buddy.
This angry ops guy just needs to unplug.
Here we go again.
Ops managers, drinking is acceptable after hours, but you have to go to work the next day. So your travel kit is a bottle of Advil, a bottle of water, and some common sense.